we thank you very much for being here. We'll get right into this. We would like to introduce the lead sponsor of the House bill for nullification of Obamacare, Representative Bill Chumley.
Thank y'all so much. The House PA system here is not great. Is there real? Can you hear me? Is everything okay? Good. Well, you probably don't want to, because I want to tell you the same thing I did outside if you were at the rally. That's the only message I have. Is we've got to take this on and do it, and we don't have an option. We've got to be successful, and I plan to be successful. We're going to win this thing, and we're going to show the rest of the country what South Carolina can do and what we need to do, and it's the right thing totally. I want to show you one little thing while I'm here. We won't take much of your time. This is a copy of the oath I took this time for service. And this says right here that I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and I'll protect the people of South Carolina. That's my signature on the bottom of it right there. I did this. I had my hand on the Bible. Okay? I promised this oath before God. I won't back down. I'm here. We're going to take care of this thing. I'm going to do this job. It's my duty, and it's our duty. Everybody. We're all in this together. I tell you one other thing outside too. Honestly, remember that you are in control of this, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way our system is set up. You are handling this thing, and this is what we want to do. So today, what we're doing here is we're celebrating the pre-filing of Bill H3101 to nullify Obamacare in the state of South Carolina. We're doing this because it's the right thing constitutionally and morally. We're doing it for our children and our grandchildren, and we're doing it because you're going to get sick of hearing me say this. It's the right thing to do, and the right thing to do never seems like the easy thing to do. The right thing to do seems like it's always hard, but God delights in doing the impossible. He can show what He can do when it's impossible to us. Well, and just because we're not assured of victory, that doesn't mean we fight. We don't fight. We're here, and we're planning to do it. One more thing I'll tell you. I heard on the radio coming down here, did a couple of little radio interviews, and we were listening to the radio, and I heard someone say, well, this is great. This is good. This is a great thing to happen. And I'm all for it. But it's not going to happen because this is all for show. That's all these guys are doing down there is all for show. I'm going to tell you something. Please understand that this is hard work, and I'm not crying, I'm not complaining. I'm privileged and honored to do it, but it is a lot of work to do this, and for show, if I want to do something for show, I'm going to find something much easier to do, much easier. It's not going to be this, I promise you that. We're serious about this. We're dead serious about it. We're going to do this, we're going to take care of the job, and we're going to get it done. And I want to thank every one of you for being here. This is such a good turnout, and I'm so happy to see y'all. It's a sacrifice to be here, and it encourages us beyond words. But you are the ones that can get it done. Also, I want to thank my colleagues here with us today. We've got a good many House members, good many Senate members, and our co-sponsor list is growing. Picked up 2 this morning, and it's growing really good. Growing because of this. Today is technically the day you sign on. You can do it during recess, but most people do it today. So I expect our list to grow really good today. So looking forward to it. So I want you to be encouraged, and I want you to take this back home with you. Out of everything today, we are going to nullify Obamacare. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it because it's the right thing to do, and because you're with us. Thank y'all so much. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Representative Bill Taylor from Aiken. And thank you. I'm proud to stand with Bill Chumley. Is he not the man? Let's give him another round. You know, I know this is a news conference, so we're supposed to talk to the cameras, but I can't help myself. For those of you who are outside, and I think that was most of you, I said to you, there's that fella in Washington who says, yes, we can. And what's our answer to him? No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. There, it's as simple as that. Well, it's a lot harder than that. But we start there because we're South Carolinians, and this is a sovereign state. We are in control of us. We gave birth to the federal government. They are not our parent. Would you go to the Department of Education to get an education? No. Would you go to the Department of Energy to get cheap electricity? No. Would you go to the Obama bureaucracy to get health care? No. Of course not. Look, folks, this is a great starting point. This is going to be a battle. I had one representative say to me today, oh, you remember the Nut Caucus, huh? Yeah, you know that's out there. And he's a Republican.
Names.
We're not members of the Nut Caucus. We know what we're doing. We know what's constitutionally right. We know how disastrous this legislation is going to be, Obamacare. We must stand the fight. You must go to your representatives and your senators, see them face to face, ask them to stand for this bill. This is not the Nut Caucus, this is the Smart Caucus. We're going to get this done. The entire country will look at us. You know, I had a person say to me, write me the other day actually, and she said, you know, you need to be South Carolinians, you legislators need to get along. You need to work together. You need to compromise. You need to, she said, you need to be a model for other legislators around this country. And I thought about that for a moment, I really did. I wouldn't tell you what my first response was going to be when I was writing her back, but then I said to her, we are the model. And I can only hope that our legislators all over this country take a look at what happens in South Carolina and say, we can do that too. I had a call from a representative yesterday, a friend of mine in Missouri, and he said, I'm watching what you're all doing. We want to get on board. Let us light the fire. This Obamacare needs to be stopped dead in its tracks. And here's the thing. The Supreme Court got it wrong. Oh, yeah. So let's give them another bite at the apple. And maybe they'll see the light of day and change their minds. Because definitely we'll pass this, it's going to get litigated, of course, and hopefully we will prevail and they'll wise up in Washington. Thank you all for being here.
I'm Tom Kendall, family physician from Greenville, South Carolina. When I graduated from medical school in 1976, I did not know I would be standing with my white coat on in the Rotunda of the State House to defend liberty. The federal regulatory nightmare that is the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, called Obamacare, has moved the government into the role of master and we the people into the role of slaves. Political theory that includes the socialization of medicine excludes the concept of nullification. The strength of the American Republic is not found in the enforcement of regulations that violate the will of the people, but in the defense of righteous justice that is born of truth and freedom. federal influence that empowers a document that is so comprehensive that it usurps our nation's original charters has become tyrannical. The Obamacare is not about health care and the well-being of people. It is about control. We are a right-to-work state, and we reject the idea that workers should be required to join a labor union as a condition of employment. Requiring physicians to take part in Obamacare is no different from requiring workers to join a union. It is a direct assault on our beliefs, one that seeks to destroy South Carolinians' right to work. We are a nation that values personal freedom of choice. We choose our physicians and build relationships with them, relationships that sometimes extend for decades. But imagine at a time in your life when you need the most care and the treasured wisdom of an experienced doctor, the physician whom you have known and depended upon for years is forced to retire. 24% of the physicians in South Carolina are 60 years of age or older. They're tired of fighting bureaucratic battles. And now your physician is a young physician who does not know you, and the information he does know about you, he's learned through some computer record. He has no first-hand understanding of all that aging process entails. And however well-trained he or she may be, he cannot choose a course of treatment for you without the approval of a bureaucratic system whose decisions are based not upon medical wisdom and personal needs, but upon statistics and cost-effectiveness. A system to which you have to justify the value of your life lest they consider you dispensable. Don't think it will ever happen in America. It is happening in other countries, Holland and others that are government healthcare systems. Why pursue nullification of Obamacare? Not only is the legislation impractical with its cost over $1 trillion and its negative effect on jobs and the economy, not only does it overstep America's right to freedom of religious practice, not only does it decrease the quality of medical care for South Carolinians, but also, perhaps and more importantly, this bill is unconstitutional. Obamacare is unconstitutional. Our United States Constitution gives the individual states a right, an obligation, a requirement to check the power of the federal government. While healthcare legislation may be well-intended, the federal government is hardly capable of managing these services. This is why the framers of the Constitution did not enumerate this kind of power to them. If you notice on this chart here, the patient is in the left lower corner of the chart. The physician is in the right lower corner of the chart. A lot of bureaucracy prevents the physician and the patient getting together. As president-elect of the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, I represent a group of freedoms-defending, patient-protecting doctors. Doctors who with courage and conviction, individually and collectively, oppose with honor and distinction the socialization of medicine. We wholeheartedly support this nullification effort. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. My name is State Senator Tom Davis. I am the Senator for Beaufort County and parts of Jasper County. And I stand here proudly in support of this nullification effort, not only in regard to Obamacare, but in regard to every instance in which the federal government oversteps its bounds. And my message to you is this. I'm going to focus on this. Don't let anybody tell you you don't have the intellectual high ground. Don't let anybody tell you that what you're arguing for isn't supported by our U.S. Constitution. Don't let anybody tell you that this is not a method that's open to the states. Because let me tell you this. A few years ago, I was Chief of Staff to the Governor of South Carolina, and we decided as a state that we were not going to adopt the real ID provisions of the federal government, and other states did the same thing, and the federal government gave up, and that died and withered on the vine. So we have a modern-day example of a chief executive of the state saying, we're a sovereign state, You're the federal government. You have certain specific powers, and beyond that you may not go. We think you have gone beyond those powers. We are not going to abide by the law that you passed. And guess what? The federal government went away. If we go ahead and we show that same resolve, if we show that same persistence, and if we argue based on the Constitution, if we argue based on history, because guess what? Thomas Jefferson authored a resolution for Kentucky that nullified the Alien and Sedition Act that made it illegal for citizens of the United States to criticize their federal elected officials. There was a law passed back in 1800 that said you went to jail if you criticized your elected official. Thomas Jefferson wrote a resolution for Kentucky to nullify that law, and it was never enforced in Kentucky. James Madison wrote a nullification resolution for that law in Virginia, and it was never enforced in Virginia. So don't tell me it's never been done in America, and don't tell me that the United States Constitution is not sanctioned and authorized, and dare I say require this sort of activity on behalf of the sovereign states. Because if you're a sovereign state, and you have gone ahead on behalf of your people, and you've given away some power, a limited amount of power to the federal government as an agent, and if they exceed that power, it is your duty as a principal to your citizens to call that government to heel, to say to the federal government, you have acted beyond the scope of your authority, we're not recognizing it. That is rooted in principle and agency law, it's rooted in our constitutional law. Let me say this. If you're going to ask me to choose between Thomas Jefferson and James Madison on the one side as to what the U.S. Constitution authorizes the states to do, and Liga Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor on the other side, I can tell you where I'm going to come down every single time. I'm going to come down to those that had a hand in drafting that Constitution. I'm going to come back to the guys that went to their state legislators and argued for its ratification. I'm going to go to the guys that wrote the Federalist Papers explaining to the states what that U.S. Constitution means. I am not going to look to somebody like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who goes overseas and advises other countries to not adopt constitutions that are based on the U.S. Constitution, because that is a flawed and failed model. That is a shame. That is a disgrace. I will never stand for that. What I will stand for is this, and my pledge to you is this. I will spend every waking hour that I have in that chamber up there in the South Carolina State Senate to find a way for nullification, through rejection of dollars to the federal government with strings attached, to any other mechanism whereby the federal government tries to overstep their bounds and take freedoms away from the people and authority away from the state. We all have our jobs. We have fantastic congressmen up in Washington, D.C. right now. We have got Mick Mulvaney and Jeff Duncan and Trey Gowdy and people like that that are fighting the battle, and that's great. I can't do anything in Washington, D.C., but I can do something right here in South Carolina. One of the ways we push back is not only to fight laws in D.C., is for sovereign states to stand up for their rights and push back that way. With your help and with your guidance and with your strength, I'll carry out that role, and together we will push back this tide of federal encroachment. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you for sticking with us. I know we've covered a lot of this earlier, but I appreciate the crowd sticking around. These are a great group of patriots. I want to thank you. I am concerned, as I said earlier, that our chains are being forged up in Washington with all these IRS agents they're hiring to come down and force upon us something that we don't want us to state, that our forefathers would never have stood for or allowed. And what I want to do is I want to fight this on a state-by-state level. We need to use the 10th Amendment so we don't have to use the Second Amendment. But we need to be willing to protect our rights at all costs. Our forefathers pledged their lives. So don't come back 6 months, 12 months from now about federal money. Let's just tell the federal government that we want our freedom more than anything else. I was just across the street with Senator Shane Massey last year, and we were talking about how much smarter the founders were than the folks we have today as far as leaders go. And we talked about how can we save this republic? What can we do? Well, the founders left us some Federalist Papers, They left us a constitution, they left us a plan, and we the people are going to take this country back. So we're going to go up here, and do our part, but we need you to do your part. Talk to your friends and neighbors. Come up and fill these chambers and let these legislators know that if they don't do what they need to do, you'll find somebody who will. Thank you.
I'm State Senator Larry Grooms from the great area of Charleston, and I'm a proud co-sponsor of this bill. One Christmas Eve, it was about 3 in the morning. The parks are all over the place. And I called my father for it. I called outstairs, read the instructions. Well, I don't know about you, but I think things are falling apart in our nation, in our country, and we have an instruction book. It's called the United States Constitution. And the Constitution says that all rights come from God, and that governments are created to protect rights of men that come from God. The government doesn't tell us what rights we will and will not have. Our rights come from Him. Governments are supposed to protect those rights, and this bill is one way of telling the federal government, we're not backing down. It's time we take our country back. It's time we take this nation back. Men of godly character and principle, it's time to rise up, make a statement, so that we can give the blessings of liberty to the next generation. Thanks for showing your support.
Thank you, Senator, for that impactful appeal. My name's Jesse Grass, and I'm the odd man out here. I'm here representing my family, just like all of you are, okay? And I want to address each and every one that came here. Out of the hundreds that were in attendance, it's going to be up to us to continue to lobby our representatives. We have the opposition that gets paid high dollar to go and to trying to support the administration's policies. And we have to do our part. They're paid to serve us and to work for us, and we need to let them know how to represent us. Okay, but now I would like to address every legislator in this building. In time past, this assembly has afforded the luxury of serving as legislators during a season of an electorate that has been apathetic, distracted, and uninvolved. But I have a clear message to each and every legislator in this building. We are awake! We are not going back to sleep. We are going to be here. We are not going away. Let it not be confused in your mind. This vote on how you vote on this legislation is a defining moment in your career. That's right. This is the time you're writing the legacy that your children will remember you by. That's right. If we fail at this, if we fail here, whatever sacrifice it takes to try and get this legislation passed, it'll cost us much more. We must do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, South Carolina. I'm appealing right now to every single person here to understand, to get on their knees and to ask God for mercy in South Carolina. We ask for intervention right here. We thank the legislators, but more than them having to answer to all of us for their votes, the next election cycle, they will have to answer to Him in that day on how they stand. We are on the side of right. We're standing on the shoulders of Thomas Jefferson, of James Madison. And this is nothing new in South Carolina. Back in 2009, we got rid of the Real ID Act. That was unconstitutional. We've done this before. We're going to do it again. But this isn't about threatening anyone. Can you imagine? I'm asking every legislator to listen to me. Can you imagine the job growth and the housing boom that will take place in our state if we remove ourselves from underneath the thumb of the over 159 million